So best this one, yeah. So best time to buy and sell stock with the cool down. So you are given an array prices where price I is the price of a given stock on I today, and what you have to do is like find the maximum profit you can achieve, and you may complete as many transactions as you like. That is buy one and sell one share of the stock multiple times with the following restrictions. Once you sell your stock, you cannot buy the stock on the next day. Or cool down will be there for one day, and you may not engage in multiple transactions simultaneously. You must sell the stock before you buy again. Okay, short selling is not allowed, kind of. Okay. So here, yeah. So he's purchasing on one and selling it on two. So profit of one is here, and then this will be a cool down period because once you do the transaction, so and then again is purchasing with zero price and selling it on this. So two out of here and one out of here. So two plus one three. And this is the I think transaction what they have explained it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. And here
So
it's the
that is the
same
whole
step.
transaction, right? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Santosh.
No, no. I was saying that the transaction, the first one, so
Mm-hmm.
that is the way the transaction is: buy, sell, cool down, buy, and sell.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
And for a second you have only one. So same day you can buy and sell, right? That is allowed.
Yeah, but you cannot do anything in that. It's only one price you have, so you cannot. Even if you buy, you cannot sell it. So therefore, the profit is zero.
Oh, I thought that with one only we'll buy and with that only we'll sell. But
No, that is
that's not
what
the
they
case.
say. No, you cannot buy on the same day. You can buy on the same day, but you will sell, because before selling you need to buy,
Yeah.
and if you just
So
buy, you cannot sell it also.
this is a one special case then, right? Kind of.
Yeah, something like a
Or,
base case, you can say. Anyway, that's not so important. Yeah.
mhm. So constraints are like prices length is given and whatever the price value is that
Mm-hmm.
is given. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
0 to 1,000. Yeah.
Okay. So how do we go about this, right?
Brute force, right?
Uh, you can
Or,
say a brute force,
mhm.
right? So we can actually do, um, yeah, buy a stock on one day, right?
Okay. Hmm.
And so maybe like start a for loop from this whole prices array. Okay, that will be
Yeah.
the first for loop. And then when you buy it on maybe on 0 day,
Hmm.
so you can start a nested for loop. In that you can always check when you can sell. Okay, if you sell it immediately, and then you'll have a cool down period. Okay, but then okay, you'll have to again keep on doing for n number of times, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can
Or,
start on zeroth index, do
mhm.
a for loop, so you can actually go and sell it again, and then do a cool down of one day, and again find the lowest whatever the price to buy, because price you'll have to buy always at the lowest value, right? So
But
uh-huh.
I mean, won't you take the possibilities whether you should buy or you should not buy that way?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. So that is one
Okay.
thing. So on
Mhm.
every, even if we start on the zeroth index, if the imagine if the price was very high, like 7 or 8,
Mhm.
okay, so it's useless to buy at that price, right?
Exactly.
So then you would actually check how much still days are remaining, whether you
Mhm.
can buy, sell, and cool down. Okay,
Yeah.
at least you can do that. uh, so then you'll try to find out, so what is the maximum profit you can gain if you buy out on zeroth index. Then you'll move to the second index, first index, and then do the same thing over and over again, and whatever is the maximum of all of them, that will be your answer.
In that case, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're exploring all the possibilities and then.
Right. So exploring all the possibilities, it becomes something like a subsequence way of doing it. Yeah.
Like,
Maybe it will be an exponential also, right? If you do it all of them.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that, yeah, Abhishek said,
Or
right? Yeah.
yeah, or we can try simulating the most optimal method by using recursion. So how do we simulate it? We can first try buying a stock, and then
Uh-huh.
again, once I buy a stock, I can try selling that stock,
Mm-hmm.
and the same process will get repeated. For that is, whenever I buy a stock, first I have to sell it, and then only I can buy another stock. So out
Mm-hmm.
of all these possible combinations, I will try to optimize my final profit, and then
Mm-hmm.
I can return that particular value.
Yeah.
So so I have two possibilities. First is buy.
Mm-hmm.
So if I need to buy something, again I have two cases for each of the indexes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, just skip the current index, and the other is choose the current index.
Mm-hmm.
So if I skip the current index, I will not uh, be buying for that particular value. But
Mm-hmm.
if I choose anything, then I will be buying that particular stock. And the second would be to sell. But sell will only work when I have a stock uh, ready, or I mean, we have already bought some stocks.
Mm-hmm.
So this will work only if I have some stock which I have already bought previously.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I will have two options. If I can skip that case, which is I will not sell that particular index,
Mm-hmm.
and the other would be sell it. So if I sell it, then for the next index, I can try buying something. Similarly, this process can be simulated, and we'll try to optimize our final result.
Yeah. So this is good. Okay. One only variation, maybe I'm just thinking loud. What we could do in any, so this is going to be a recursive calls, right?
Hmm.
So what we could do is we could have a complete transaction of buy, sell, and cool down. So I know that you cannot buy if the price is very high. So you'll buy an optimal for for an optimal price and then sell it, and you'll have cool down. So if we do that whole transaction in one recursion call, and whatever is the remaining prices, we make that as a sub problem and do the same over and over again in a recursive call. Will that not work? I'm just thinking loud. And
Yeah,
in
I
that
think
case,
it
we
should
might,
work.
uh-huh. Because in this case, we'll unnecessarily have many states to take care of, right? Buy, sell, and cool down also. And buying also, you'll have to really do an optimized buying till the price
Yeah,
doesn't go down.
yeah, but since the most optimized one will be taken care of in the recursive call, we don't have to particularly choose any most uh, or the most largest or the most smallest stock value,
Mm-hmm.
because all these things will be taken care of in our recursive call.
Okay, but yeah, but what happens, in a recursive call for each and every stock decision or a state of stock, you'll do a recursive call. So if there are many recursion calls you're unnecessarily doing, so there might be some way to optimize it. Yeah, but anyway, if you have to do it the brute force, then that is the best way to do it, right? Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
and again, a complete transaction is uh, you sell that stock, and you first buy the stock and then sell it, and the profit is at what price you sold it, and then you subtract at what price you bought that particular stock. So this is one transaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even first we buy. Okay, come on.
Yeah, yeah. First we buy, but in our final profit, the buying value will be contributing negative.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the selling value will be contributing positively.
Hmm.
So whenever I buy something, I will just add minus that value. Let's say A is the current value. Whenever I choose the current index, and if I sell it, then I will add plus A to my answer.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if I skip it, then I will go to I plus 1 index. Similarly, if I choose it, then I will go to I plus 1 index. But now I have to sell the particular stock. If I skip when I have to sell, I will go to I plus 1. But if I try to sell it, then I will not go to I plus 1 because there is a cooldown period of 1 day, I guess, in the question.
Yeah.
So I will move to I plus 2 index.
Right.
Reason being the adjacent next day won't be counted because that will be a cooldown day
Yeah.
or a cooldown period. So if I sell a stock, then again this after I sell a stock, then again I have to simulate my buying a stock mechanism. So this can be processed as somewhat like a finite state machine, like buy is one of the state and sell is one of the state. And from buy I can go to sell because after buy I cannot do a buy again. So after I buy a stock, I have to sell it. Similarly, after I sell a block, sell a stock, I have to buy it.
3 states should be there, right? One more, I think.
Yeah, the other would be skip that case.
If you don't do cool down kind of.
Yeah, that can be taken care of in the so how what are the inputs for the finite state machine. But even if we are skipping some particular days, then this can be included as one of the uh,
Yeah,
state in the finite state machine.
makes sense.
So this is why this can be tagged as a finite state machine question, and then uh, we can use the same mechanism. Like after we buy something, we can sell it, and if I don't want to sell it, I will skip it, and then if I skip it, then I will move back to selling for the particular day, and after I sell it, I can again go to buying a particular stock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so so I think this is the only thing here. So how do we? But again, the recursive calls will be too large or too big. So we need to further optimize it. So how do we do that? Let's say we take the function get, where we pass our index, and then let's say take a variable
Mm-hmm.
which will tell me if I have a stock or not. So let's say let's say if I own a stock or not. Yeah, and if if own is equal to 1, this means I own a stock, which means I bought it. So this is a case of I need to sell it. So if I need to sell something, uh, one possibility would be just skip that case, which is I don't sell at but that particular index, and I will try to sell at the another index. And the other would be you sell at that particular point, so we can include that particular value because whenever I sell a stock, I will be adding it positively to my answer, and then I can go to the next index. But now uh, the boolean variable own will be set to false because now I don't own a stock because I already sold it. And then out of all this, I can return my max of whatever uh, combinations I took and whatever uh, max profit I can make. Similarly, if own is equal to 0, this means now I have to buy something. And if I buy something, then again I have two cases. Just skip that case particular index. So I will go to next index, and the own will remain same, which is 0. And the other would be just negatively add the particular value because whenever we buy something, we negatively add it and then go to the next index, but just toggle your own because now I don't own a
So
particular
that is
stock.
kind of
And then,
cool down you are taking, right? Not of own.
Yeah, here, yeah, whenever I sell something, then I can change this to 2 because 1 day will be occupied for the cool down period.
Mm. Yeah, that's what two should be there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So here I can include 2 because after I sell something, I have 1 day cooldown period. So I can just skip that the next adjacent day. I can go to index plus 2. So
Yes.
only these 2 cases are there, and we can see in our function get, we have only 2 variables which can change, and this is why the DP would be the number of states in DP would be 2, which is TP of index and own, and index will have values from 0 to n, and own will have only 2 values because it is a Boolean variable, so it will have 0 or 1. And so this is why the overall time complexity will come out to be 2 into n, because index takes n values and own takes only 2 values. Similarly, so this will be the time complexity, and similarly for the space one, we will be needing a 2 cross n matrix for the memoization. So I think this is the space complexity as well.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I go with the implementation, I've already declared a DP vector of size n cross 2, and n is the maximum possible size, which is 5,000. Okay, I've declared more than 5,000. Yeah, now this is good. And I will first initialize all the values with -1 in my DP vector. And okay, I don't have any fear. Okay, this is just a variant. The first value would be the index, and the Boolean variable is the own, which means if I have owned a particular stock, which means I already bought it, so now I have to sell it. So if the index goes to the rightmost end, then this means that I've exhausted all the stocks, so just return 0 in that case. Otherwise, if I own a particular stock, add that particular value. So this is the first case, just add that particular value, which means sell at that particular index and go to the I plus 2 index because 1 day would be consumed for the cooldown period. Other would be uh, just skip that particular case and go to the next index and take maximum out of all those combinations. Similarly, for the uh, when we don't have anything, which means own is set to false, we negatively add our answer and go to the next index, but we set the Boolean own variable to 1. And if I try to skip that case, then go to the next index and don't add anything and take the maximum out of these 2.
Yeah. A transaction fee for some other question, it is right.
Yeah, yeah. One of the question is where we have to give a transaction fee. Here I've set
Okay.
it to 0, so this will not hamper the code.
Yeah.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
That's okay.
So it seems good and cover it good.
Yeah, you
yeah,
can
yeah.
use that
Or,
same template for all, I would say. Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've used all this question can be used can be solved with this template only.
And
We
Yeah.
just have to change this the deep number of DP states. Like in exam, uh, yeah, if we are allowed k transactions, then I need to introduce another state here where that would be number of transactions.
Oh,
And
the
in
K1. Yeah.
my,
Okay.
yeah, and here I can pass the total number of transaction. And if at any instant I exhaust all my transaction, there only I can return 0. So that can be one of the base case in that case.
makes
Right,
sense.
right, right. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So how?
so
What is
this
the
is
time
why,
complexity for this implementation? Sorry, uh,
yeah,
the
yeah.
lead code time. I know. Yeah, it might be slightly bigger, right? Yeah. Oh, still it's very big. Good, I would say. Yeah.
20.
yeah,
It's very
because
Not
this
bad at all.
is,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because this is just 2 into n, or we can take it as a linear time complexity. It
Yeah.
appears to be, it appears that it is a recursive call, so it will take n square, but
Uh-huh.
the range of values which v takes is only 2.
Mm-hmm.
So we can take it as a 2 cross n matrix,
Right.
and then this is why the space complexity would be linear as well as the time complexity would be linear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is good. Yeah.
Yeah, we just have to consider these two cases, just skip or choose or skip or sell.
Mm-hmm.
If we remember this one, then we can write the solution for any of the variant of this type of problem.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, that is very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like going through this state diagram what Abhishek was explaining itself, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have S naught, S1, and S2. So
Okay.
these three states, S naught is like a cool down. You don't do anything, right?
Okay.
And if you buy a transaction, you will go to S1, right?
Uh-huh.
So there are two cases. Either once you have purchased something, I mean the stock, either you sell it. I mean, if you don't sell it, you remain at the same state, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you sell it, you will go to this state. And at this state, you can never purchase because you need a cool down period, right? So for that cool down period, you are taking a rest and rest will take you to the next state. So
Mm-hmm.
this is the entire, what is it?
Also, you
Uh,
can have the loops on rest and buy only, right? You cannot
buy
have it
only.
on sell. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, because you cannot sell resell every time the same stock. Makes
Exactly.
sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This only I was, yes, this is the same thing of implementation of that, the three steps, what I was saying. So if you hold it,
Uh-huh.
you do nothing, right? So if you do nothing, it will be with you only. And if
Okay.
you have sold the stock, that means after that, you will go for a cool down period, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because after one transaction you
Not
have
hold
completed,
cooldown.
not hold, it should
I
hold
didn't
down,
understand
right?
why
Yeah,
it says not
we
hold.
don't hold we don't hold anything after we sell, and
Okay.
again we have a cool down period. So this is why they
Mhm.
have included both this using a underscore.
Same, okay.
Okay, one and the same it means, right? Okay.
Hmm. And if you don't hold, not hold, then nothing. I mean, you're doing nothing. Right? That's like, and if you are not holding, then if you purchase it, right,
Mm-hmm.
you can buy the stock. So if you buy, you hold. I mean, you are holding the stock, and then if it's a cool down period, then again you did nothing. Neither you purchase nor what you say, not neither you sell. So do nothing and not hold. It will take you to the not hold state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so is initializing is not hold and not hold underscore cooldown and hold with these are the minus infinity values and your not hold with zero and going you are going through each of the prices, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how is updating is hold. Hold is like whatever the previous hold is, and if you are not holding minus the current price what you do, whatever maximum out of that you get, that will be your hold state. This one, right?
Right, right. Mm-hmm.
And for not hold is what? Same not hold will be what? Two cases are there, right? Either you not hold or not hold with cool down. I think
Yeah,
this
so you'll
one
take a max of
max of
not
the
hold
and
and
not
not
hold
hold cooldown. Okay.
cool down and
So that is
not
the
hold
reset one. Mm-hmm.
restrict. And not hold cool down is like hold plus
Mm-hmm.
the current price that you are
So that is the selling, right? The hold plus
selling.
P.
Hold plus because that is how much you got. Okay. That.
So when you sell, you put that in the reset. Okay.
Yeah, but that DP is much more what you say a strategized question like what is it? A template proper template is there for that.
No, but this is also a a greedy approach, and
Mhm.
it's also not. It's easy to understand, also, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, but like for first
So
go it
because you
looks
have a first, the very first when you are saying hold, it means you are buying, correct? So either
yeah.
you're doing a max of the whatever you have currently bought, okay,
Mhm.
or then the not hold means whatever you have sold earlier,
Mhm.
and then you are subtracting P, so that much profit you will reduce from that. So that
Not
will
hold.
be your holding currently, whatever the
Mhm.
value will be, isn't it? Right? Yeah.
That's a profit again. Yeah,
Not a profit, it's
hold is
holding, right?
profit
It's a
only.
buying.
That is it buying or that much amount you are having.
So he says not hold is a profit, is it? And no, the cool down one. So if you
Okay. not hold is your stock. The initial value.
Buy is also hold. Okay. Yeah, it's slightly confusing, So
Yeah, that's why. And it looks very simple, but yeah.
okay, no worries.
Yeah, then we can move to next. So where is some
So, but
equals
there is one more implementation in the solution also, correct?
okay.
So I think this is not a, it is a premium question, correct? Okay. So
Okay.
in that, you have a solution,
Hmm.
which is a greedy one.
Okay.
So that approach, what you say is, okay, maybe I will share that.
Hmm.
I've
Okay.
just implemented it, the same, and then we can go together. So this is the way it was. Okay, so this one, right? So what it says, these are the three variables we are using: hold, sold, held, and the reset one. Okay, so then we go to each and every price in the prices array, and we're just storing the previous sold, because whatever we have sold earlier, we want that, because we are actually overwriting the current sold variable, and so that will be used when you are cooling down. Okay, so the first sold, whenever you sold, so whatever you have earlier held plus your current price, because whenever you are adding a price, it means that is the money what you get, right? So that will be the profit. So now when you have held, so again you will have something which you have already holding previously, and also whatever your reset means, in the sense when you are cooling down at that time, whatever profit you had, and if you subtract the current stock prices, okay, so that will be whatever the max will be, and you, that will be your current holding, correct? And then during the cool down, either you will have the previous cool down's max value, or whatever you already sold in the previous transaction, right? So that is what actually will be your max reset. So out of this, your sold and your reset, so that will be the max. Out of the max, whatever it is, you will return. That will be your profit. Correct, because you cannot actually have a max or anything of the max of this whole, because during this you are buying, right? So therefore you will be reducing your price. Okay, so that you cannot use. So therefore you just have to use whatever is sold whenever you sold, or during your cool down. So at that time you don't, in sold also you don't hold a stock, and during reset also you don't hold any stock, right? So therefore you can always take a max of only those two conditions, and not at this one, because here you are in a transition of buying something,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So this is one greedy way of doing it. And but the trick is, you the sold and held, if you see, the initialization is in it
Minus one.
then, yeah, so that is one thing you need to be. And the reset you start with 0. So this is the way they have done it in that solution. Yeah, it looks very easy, but these two conditions, the initialization, if you don't do it well, because then you might land into issues. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So next question is
Your subarray equals sum, right?
yeah. Yeah. What is this question? Okay. So subarray sum equals k. Given in integer array nums, an integer k return total number of continuous subarrays with sum equal to k. Yeah, this is again like prefix sum, right? And return the total number of and yeah, prefix sum, and every time you subtract the target minus prefix sum, if you find the same thing in your hash map, then those many numbers you can take, right?
Oh, okay. You are saying you can do a prefix sum here, like 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Okay, and then how do we find if it is the case to just keep on subtracting between those two indexes, correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. true. And if you find the same sum in the, I mean, again, which you have already seen, that means you got a sum which is equal to K, and you can pick that number from the map itself.
Okay, so if you do that 1, 2, and 3 in the first one, and
Yeah.
then whenever you go to, okay, so if the first will be 1, the second will be 2, and the third will be 3, and then when you start iterating, so okay, you'll have to have
Dynamically,
uh-huh.
you can do, I mean, while doing the prefix sum itself, you can subtract also from 2.
Okay,
You're
and then
correct.
and then actually you can actually go. So you'll store this in that one of your hash map, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then when you come here, you do subtraction with the previous one. In that case, 2 minus 1, it will be 1. So this will be 0, right? And then you store the 2. And then when you come to 3, at that time, you will get this one and then the previous one.
And it's 2 again, you will get the 2 separated out.
Okay. Okay, so why not you actually store it when you are doing a cumulative sum? That is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, dynamically also. Like every time you take the sum, you subtract those number from the 2. And if you find the same prefix, I mean, same sum in the map, that means we have already seen a subarray of size K.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is like this is like base case I'm initializing for 0 and taking as 1. Yeah. This is the length of the nums, cumulative sum and the count. So you are going to each of the array numbers and doing the cumulative sum, right? Now dynamically, you check the cumulative sum minus the target. K is the target in your cumulative sum.
Mm-hmm.
And if you find the same number in your map again, then just you pick the count from the map itself for that sum. Otherwise, if you are saying it for the first time, you put that cumulative sum and give a value of 1. Else, it's a repetition, then you add just plus 1.
Okay, so anyway, you always store your cumulative sum.
In the map, yeah.
Yeah, whether you are first time storing it or you're incrementing the previous count, you always store it. Correct.
Yeah.
And that is what you always do in your for loop. The first thing you find a cumulative sum and then you store it. These two things you always do. The second thing what you do is you find if the target minus, if you subtract the cumulative sum,
minus target.
Yeah, minus target, reversely, yeah. And then if you find that in the map, then you add that account to your answer. Okay.
Or if first time seeing, you put 1, or if you have seen earlier, then you just increase the frequency.
Yeah, then you actually put after you are done with this, the count. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is actually going to use an additional space, isn't it?
Definitely map. So this can be avoided. Oh yeah, it can be avoided using sliding window, right? But
so Shashank, here, I mean, at line number 3, you are doing that magic, putting 0 is 1. So
yeah,
how that intuition comes, I mean, that's not looks to me the intuitive. Instead of that, why don't we just check that if my current sum is equal to K?
this is for checking, like, let's say if here only 2 you get, first number as 2, right? So how will you get the index? So whatever number, I mean, for this index before this, something we have to keep for a default value.
Why do I need the index? I just need the count.
You need the, okay,
So,
let's do a dry run.
so what is the purpose for that, keeping this 0, 0 to 1?
Yeah, because if you get any value which is equal to the target, right? So then if you get a value which is your target, so then you will subtract the cumulative sum with your target, which will be 0. So that means a valid answer, right? So for that, you need to have one count.
So that's why I'm saying that, I mean, that's not looks to me intuitive that, I mean, come up with this trick. So why don't we just directly check that if my current sum is equal to K?
Yeah, so that will happen, either you do it that way or you use this. So this is one way of doing it, and
no,
yeah,
that's why I just wanted to know that, I mean, what was the intuition to actually come up with that? So
yeah,
it's not, I mean,
so
directly immediately.
that is what it is. The first case wherever we have that. whenever
Mhm.
we get a 0 and whenever we get a complete k target value, right? So whenever we're doing a prefix sum or cumulative sum, when we get a target value, so that is to take care of that, you do it that way, or else what you said, you'll have an additional if statement there. So whenever you have an additional if, it will be a comparison, correct? So comparison always consume more time, some time at least, right? So in this case, you
The
are having only one comparison and just you are putting that value in your map.
map.
So either
So
you do it this way or you have two comparisons in your for loop. So
possible there. Yeah.
whatever is good for you, you know. But if you are able to do that, that's fine. But I slightly am not sure whether if you are you able to do without that and just use the if condition. Is it possible?
I mean,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
it's doing the exactly same thing because when your current sum is equal to k, so that will end it up with the 0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This I was also doing because let's say if your first number is 2 itself, right? So 2 minus 2, you will get 0. So for that, how will you check that already previously? I mean, this is a base case. I'll check. Hey, I have already seen
So
a 0. That means from here to here is one such sub-array I got.
so in that case, your current sum will be equal to k, right?
Right.
And that also you can do. I mean, I'm saying for this one, like, yeah, I got it. What we are saying directly, you could have checked rather than putting this, right? 0 is to 1. I mean, like,
Yeah, but in that case, one thing will happen, you know. So if you always check your target is equal to your cumulative sum, always,
mhm.
because you will always have negative numbers also in this case. So you might have more number of these. So then in that case, whenever you update your map, okay, in going forward, so will it take care of this corner case also?
It does. So my point was just I just wanted to understand that I mean how the intuition comes for that type of scenario.
Okay, well, frankly,
Just for my knowledge,
yeah,
it's
that is
not
correct.
about that right and
Absolutely.
wrong. So just wanted to know.
Okay, no problem. So I'll let you know why this comes up, because
Uh-huh.
I really remember we were in-person meeting somewhere in some library. Okay,
Hmm.
so that is time Asim explained it, and also Gaurav also explained it, right? So this is one trick. If you do, it saves a lot of hassles. Okay, and from that time onwards, many of the problems will have like these values. Okay, the
Okay.
initialization of map. So, but or else if you don't do, yeah, we never thought after that. We just kept in our mind we'll always have to do this. We just put this whenever we get such a similar type of problems. Yeah, but what you say makes sense. Now we should also find out if we can do it without that also. Okay,
Yeah,
and
I tried.
possible.
I mean, when I saw that also, I tried without that because that was, I mean, to me, that was intuitive immediately
Mm-hmm.
to check the current sum equal to k.
Mm-hmm.
But that looks a cool trick, so I just wanted to understand
No,
that.
absolutely,
That's the
absolutely.
only. Yeah.
Now
And
it's happening like this. Most of the time, whenever we know some tricks, we just implement it and go ahead. We don't
Correct.
go back and find out why the issue is, why we did that. And it
Hmm.
might so happen in an interview, come up and someone asks you, and you think, okay, why he doesn't know this what I'm doing? So that's that's not the right way to do it, right? So we need to understand this. So yeah, that is one way. But what you say also makes sense. If you can do it, if uh, cumulative sum is equal to k, okay, then also we increment our count. If we add that and we just remove this, I think that should also work. Correct. But it will be an additional if statement
Yeah,
in the for
definitely.
loop. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
But this is the
and
way it started. That is
one
what
more
I
thing,
would say. And many implementations
this
there
is for
in
the number.
VS Code. Go ahead. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, you got something. No, I'm saying for length, we write 0 is to minus 1. The reason behind this is like, let's say if your array is 211 and you have to find the length of that sub-array and you got it at first place itself, right? So what you will do, I mean, for 0, you have minus 1 and you got 2, I mean, you saw this prefix sum first, and minus target you will do, that will give you 0. So you'll go to 0 and take a length, this minus 1, minus the current index you do. So it will give you a length of this sub-array as well. So for length, we do 0 to minus 1, and for calculating the numbers, we put 0 to plus 1. I mean, corresponding to 0 as plus 1.
Mhm. Yeah, but
Because
that was,
otherwise-
I think this one you're talking about some monotonic stack implementation, what we do in some cases, right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So everywhere you will have to use a different values. That is true. Yeah. So yeah, what Praveen says makes sense. You need to, yeah, you can do these things. The tricks are good. Okay, as long as you know it, but just don't do in autopilot mode, but understand why you do this trick. And if you have to, someone say, can you do without this trick? You should be ready to do that also.
Yeah, then what Praveen said, like directly check the current
Yeah.
sum is present in the
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that sometimes you need to do these tricks, but I mean, I just want to learn that skill, that how to actually,
No, that is,
if you have not seen
Yeah.
that, so how you actually come up
yeah.
or think in that way.
See, most of these
Yeah, I
tricks you know only when you have seen somewhere, or you have it inherits in you, right? So that what
Prior
happens
implementation.
most of the time. Yeah. So, but I don't
yeah,
think
I think
so. Yeah.
we
Go
can
ahead. Mhm.
we can always start thinking about the most easiest implementation whenever we see a problem, and then if for example, there are some tricks for each of the question. For example, if our array is sorted, we always try to optimize it using a two-pointer approach. And if we are in need of a cumulative sum, we always try for a prefix sum and mainly hash maps. Or if a question tries to give a greedy answer, then we always sort the given input thing. So these things can be a general approach for some type of problems, and I think with experience we can get to know that after reading a problem which particular algorithm to apply for the most optimized approach. But it is always good if we start with the most brute force implementation of that particular question. For example,
Right.
here we can always start our, so we can fix our starting point and we can iterate through the whole array and count the given subarray with some k. So that can take n square uh, time complexity, but it will not consume any space. But again, if the interviewer specifically asks to optimize our n square approach, then we can try using the fact that the prefix sum of this problem is somewhat like a repeating case for k sum. So we can try storing all the previous sum, and if let's say the previous sum plus k exist in the current uh, exist as a current sum, then this means that we have found a subarray with that given amount of k. So how do we do this? We use a hash map.
Yeah.
So
So if you evolve it that way, that will be always a good way to do. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. So
This can be
see these
avoided.
type of implementation, what Praveen says, also Shashank, also you would agree, these things are almost like a contest type of implementation, right? So we just get a
yeah,
ready-made, we just
most
implement,
optimized.
done, right? It's most optimized. But for interview, this is not going to sell. So what
Yeah.
Abhishek
Yeah,
was trying to say, I think that will always work. But I know that we are getting so much, into this. We have been doing so many of them. So always we take all things for granted. That is right. But you come up with the most optimum will be good. But then someone will ask you many questions in that, and then you should be able to handle those. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good
yeah.
one.
It
That thanks
also
for yeah.
it
Mhm.
it also says how we try to approach a particular problem, not only a DSA problem or any problem which you come across in our life. So
Right.
we can
Yeah.
always try finding the most easiest solution for a particular problem, and if it demands any further modifications, then we can try uh, opting for a more optimized version of that solution.
Hmm. I agree.
Could you please explain? I don't understand if this solution will work in case of negative numbers as well. Will it work if you
It should. It
have
should work.
Yeah,
It
the
will.
constraints are given as negative as well.
Yeah, it is. So if he's able to pass the submit this one, then I think it should work.
yeah, can I? Oh, okay, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, you can actually get any test case if you think so, and should work. We can walk through it.
So here, can we avoid this? We can avoid it, right? Like then again, what do you think? Extra variable we
No, I
have to
think this
maintain.
is the base case.
Yeah, that is basically what you're doing, but we
The
can do
first,
without
the,
that
s-
also. Yeah.
the first sequence of some k would be taken care of using the line 3.
Yeah, so can we take it in some variable? I mean, we can't avoid it right here, I think. Or
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have to take a variable, something like that, so that
This
you
is
have
same
a
as the base case of our DP question.
deeply kind. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we can avoid it, right? The way
Yeah.
Praveen was discussing. After
Yeah,
line number 8,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we can do
We
that.
we can avoid that. I mean, the same thing you can achieve. You just compare with the.
Yeah, so what you do is you'll comment out the line 3, okay,
Mhm.
and after line 8, you know, you do something like that. You if C sum is equal to K,
exactly.
okay, and then you increment your counter.
By 1.
Yeah, by 1. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, can I ask you at line 12
Go ahead.
you increase count, yeah? In line 12 you increase count and then you can update it again, yeah? It's line 16 as example, yeah? So does it mean when next time I meet the same difference, I will double my value count, no?
No, no, no. Actually, he's not doing that. See, okay, you just compile it 1 second, and then what? Let's
Oh, okay.
answer next question.
Oh, sorry, I stopped the map itself. It will give error. Map at least I'll have to declare it.
Oh, okay, your map is gone. Okay.
I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, submitted by
How will it calculate? Yeah, it should. Yeah, awesome.
Okay. Let's go to our next question. Yeah, Nick.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, I do not understand some details about line 12. So we increase count, we take value from our hash map and add to our count, but then we can update our hash map again, yeah? Will it lead to double count in next time when I have the same difference or not?
Yeah, because see, why do we do this, you know, on line 12? Because we add whatever we had when we find this cumulative sum minus k, that value, because that gives that count in the map gives you the current count, correct? But going
Okay.
forward, you need to add the current count also what you got, what you did in this
Ah.
particular instance. So that is why you update your map again. So for the next time when you come again to the map for the same location, you get this count also, the one what you have done right now.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. So this works, and so we are good. So we have one solution also, right, Shashank, now?
Yeah, we have one solution. Two solutions. One solution was 0. Thanks to both of you. Like I was thinking like most of the sliding window I used to do like this. 0. I mean, for length I used to put 0 to -1 for this case to calculate the length -1 and the current index, and for numbers I used to put 0, 1.
Yeah. So that is what Praveen's question is. We should not go in autopilot mode. So we need to understand what
Exactly.
exactly.
That will, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Abhishek, you have a approach, right, for this question. Could you
Yeah,
please
my
go through it?
implementation is same
No
as
problem.
the map one because
Good.
that is the most optimized.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I've used an unordered map here, and similarly, I've taken the zero sum as 1 initially, and I iterate through each of the index and first take the cumulative sum and check if p minus k is already present, then add it to my answer, and after this, just increment that particular cumulative sum in the answer.
Okay. Mhm.
Yeah, we can actually get rid of this map as well here because the constraints are small. So
Mhm.
if we use if in one of the sessions, I think we use some
Reference.
origin shifting concept. So again, since here is negative values are here, so we can shift our origin from 0 to plus 1000, and then all the sums will be in the range 0 to 2000 only. So we can declare a array with size 2000 initialized with 0. Then
Oh, okay.
this
Uh-huh.
yes, then this operation will be constant time. Even accessing any element of the map will become a constant time operation.
Okay, and then that will be something like a counting
Yeah.
counting
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
or something, bucket sort.
But it's just a replacement of this map.
It will be same like Santosh, like instead of the hash map, you are for lookup you are using the fixed size of array.
Right.
Yeah.
This is more
Only thing
generic.
is, only thing is the negative index has to be mapped to some positive value. So this is why
What
we
will
have to shift all.
Abhishek, what will be the size of array that you will keep in this case?
2000 it seems, right?
Zero
Yeah.
to 2001.
Yeah. So
No, but you have all elements from 0 to 2000, right? So since you are calculating the sum, right?
yeah, I think I made a mistake. It has to
So
be
you will
some.
have to keep a very big
It has
array.
to be
Exactly.
Yeah, the values are really big.
Mhm.
Actually,
yeah. Then this has to be
yeah.
10 to the power 4. So this will be of the range 10 to the power 7.
This is not constant
Some.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. So now this is why we have to use a hash map here.
Yes.
Yeah, that won't be possible, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think I made a mistake
No, that's fine. Yeah.
looking at this value.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So next problem is like yeah. This is sorry. Yeah. This is like okay. Your sorted array is given of distinct integers and target value is given. You have to return if the target is found. If not, then what would be the next target if it were to be inserted? Like your target is 5, so you found it at 2. But in this case, your target is 2. So you'll find at this position, right, between 0 and 1. I mean, at 1th position. So you have to return the that possible index where this target could have been placed. Yeah, and these are your array will consist of distinct values. They are in ascending order, and these are the constraints.
Okay, so this is sorted array. So if you can do it in a brute force, it will be a linear time complexity. Just go on looking for this. If you find it, it's good. If you don't find it, we can just stop the number greater than that and then return that index.
Yeah,
That will be a brute force, correct?
yeah.
A linear time complexity. If now we know that it's a sorted array, we can use some better technique,
And
right?
I'm will get behind this. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
So yeah, that is a good thing. Yeah. Okay. In binary search, now we will have different variations also of the implementations.
true. Yeah.
Huh. So this is one implementation what you have done. Okay.
Here, I have explicitly taken care of duplicates, which is not meant because the next question of this is duplicates is there. Here they haven't mentioned any duplicates, right? In this one,
Okay.
one version of it is like duplicates are there. Same question is same. So that part I'm doing. If mid is equal to target and mid minus 1 is not equal to target.
Okay. That's important. Yeah.
Otherwise, rest. This is one standard template, right? Less than equal left, less than equal to target, calculating the mid. If you find your nums mid is less than target, then you'll go on the left side. Sorry, right side will go.
Well, for me, standard template will be I won't return anything whenever whatever I'm doing in a while loop. I will just come out of the loop and then return it. Okay. Yeah. So this is a slightly modified standard template. Okay. But you are taking less than or equal to. In that case, whenever you use a less than or equal to, you always have to have your left equal to mid plus 1 and right equal to mid minus 1. That is always you have to have, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you are taking care of this also for the duplicates. That's good to do because you never know. You will surely be asked something like that.
Yeah.
And at least you should be prepared for it. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so this is one way to do, correct?
Yeah.
Uh,
So here, like in interview, these problems, I mean, it will automatically switch to binary search, right? And you said like linear search and then binary search, right? Because we have gone through so many things like this. By default, it comes, right?
right.
Okay.
So okay, so if you really think of a very standard template, what I would
Mhm.
do is for the line 4 and 5, I'll keep as is. Okay, so your line number 9, what is int, if your nums mid equal to target, then the return mid, that will be my first statement after my mid. And
Okay.
then I will move my left and right pointer. Those will be my next two statements. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
I'll come outside. And then when I'm returning left, okay, I will surely check if my nums of L left is less than the target.
Mhm.
Okay, or greater than the target. I'll do some validation there. Yeah, in this case, it might be fine. It will work. Okay, so that is one check I will do. I think, yeah.
And what will you return after coming out of the while loop?
No, it depends, right? Now your template is less than or equal to. So usually I follow that less than left less than right.
Strictly less than. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do this way because whenever I come out of that, then only I return. So in this, you are actually returning whenever you know that it is. Whenever you come outside, actually you don't have to. Yeah, this is just a returning whatever you are returning is a redundant, right?
Mhm.
Is it not? So you're always return from line number 9.
9 is the best case. I mean, you found the target itself on the given bit.
Yeah, I think you would never reach left in that case, the line 13. That is what I think.
Yeah, then
I
you
don't
return from
understand this template though much, but yeah.
no. If you find target here itself, then you'll never return this left, right?
Correct. But if
Because
you don't find it, then you are going to mid -1 not equal to target.
hmm.
Okay. So it means your mid is already crossed that border, isn't it? So it
Yeah,
has crossed the target's value, and therefore, so mid
shift
-1. Uh-huh.
left side you're shifting. Left side you are shifting.
No, you.
The math.
Okay. Mhm.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, my bad. I thought that was for, but you are saying that's the second check on line number 9 is
Is
for
for
your
duplicate.
duplicate. Okay,
Duplicate.
my
Yeah,
bad.
let's say 2257.
Okay, okay.
Hmm.
So, but if you don't find the target, so then you still have to come to the line 13 and return,
Return.
isn't it? Okay,
Hmm.
because you
Because
have
that
two
will hold
indexes.
your answer. Yeah, like
Okay,
let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 is there and 5 is the target. Then 5 will be what? You already covered everything. So your left will come here. So
yeah,
left will be your answer.
yeah.
The length of
Left is mid +1, so therefore it makes sense. Yeah. Okay, my bad. So this left will always be the value which you are going to return if you don't find the value. Okay.
the hmm.
Good. At least I was able to go through this current template, what you have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or else what we would do if we can use our inbuilt STL functions, right? The upper bound and
Lower
lower
bound.
bound. Lower bound is
Yeah,
good
with
enough.
this is just an implementation of the lower bound function of C++.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Because in lower bound,
Mhm.
if the particular number exists, we
Mhm.
just return the first index where it occurs. For
Mhm.
example, if there were too many 5 in this particular array, so this would just return the first index where 5 occurs. And if 5 does not exist, then it will just return the first index where a value greater than 5, but it is the minimum in all the array will be returned.
Mhm.
So let's say 4, if the target would be 4 here, then it would return the index of 5 here,
Mhm.
because 5 is the minimum value which is greater than 4 existing in this array.
Yeah, this is good. So now in
So
this
this is why,
case,
yeah, so this is why first we find that particular iterator, and
Mhm.
then we subtract the first iterator of the given vector. So the difference would be the particular index.
Okay, so you are subtracting two iterators,
Yeah,
therefore you are going to get an index.
yeah.
Mhm.
And since this is just the binary search implementation,
Mhm.
so if we have to write this explicitly, so we can use this template. We
This
can
one
set the
also.
left to 0
Mhm.
and write to the size. So this is the case where a value exists which is greater than the max value. For example, 7, which is greater than 6. So this
Mhm.
is why the right is set to the extreme right end, which is num.size.
Okay.
And after this, we will just go with the binary search approach. If the value is greater than the target or equal to target,
Mhm.
I am setting my right pointer to mid. Otherwise, go to the so set the left pointer to mid +1, and here we can see this right pointer will point to always a valid candidate for my answer. So this is why I can point at last return right. But even though the base condition of this while loop is left is less than right, so this means that these two values will always converge at a particular point. So instead of returning right, I can also return left here.
Okay. So you are returning right in this case because you are making it more right bias, right?
Yeah, because right always gets a valid answer, but left does not get a valid answer.
Uh-huh.
Because this value is greater than target, and this is what one of the index where the value is greater than target, this is what I have to return. And where I am storing it, I am storing it in right.
Mhm.
So if you change that direction less than equal to, then left you will return in that case. I mean, depending on line number 7, you can make left also as a left bias
No,
also. No.
you'll have some more checks to do in that.
Yeah, again we have to check something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this will be a good way to do. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you do a right bias and then you return right. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Mm.